Well, I'm guessing a bear out in January is going to be a male, 100%. And I'm also guessing he's going to be pretty damn hungry. Look at that. He's been walking around here a bit. He stepped in that print more than once since I was here yesterday. So he's cruising around, and I did not leave any fish guts or anything. I didn't bonk a fish. I didn't leave any fish here. But he's looking. He's around here somewhere right now, for sure. I hope he won't bug me. Well, the microphone's working on this camera. It got blasted with a bunch of water yesterday, and sometimes that can distort the microphone. I'm gonna have to start busting out that separate microphone pretty quick. There's a mature bear tracks right underneath the tripod. Actually, this bear has been up and down the road. He went up and down the river a few times. He's all around where I was. He's down there right now somewhere. I wasn't gonna go track him down, but what is it, January 7th or something? Guaranteed it's going to be a boar. I've seen boar, black bears and grizzly bears. They come out of their holes randomly whenever they feel like it and go for a cruise. This guy cruised up the river hoping to maybe find a carcass or something. It's kind of weird. What a random choice. There's been nothing but massive blizzards the past week, and what a goofy time for a big bear to decide to come out and fumble around in that deep snow. So you know he's hungry. So I'll have my head on a bit of a swivel. I'm not overly stressed about it. But still, I'm not armed. So coming up on a hungry boar out of his hole in this kind of weather, it's 110% he's going to be hungry. But anyway, it's crazy times these days. You know, I was thinking about this walking up the trail. I thought about maybe, what, 10 years ago? Maybe 5 years ago. There probably wasn't any of this divide and rhetoric going on the planet, was there? I don't think there was. But it is so common right now, it's amazing. And you gotta admit, just for the commonality of that, should be raising some brows. I just had a few texts from a few people, very intelligent, very successful people I know, and they are very alarmed about some apparent government moves that are coming up here in Canada, which I believe is absolutely unbelievable. And it really starts making me think seriously. Obviously, I'm not some kind of strange conspiracy guy, but obviously, lately when you use the word conspiracy, it's used to shut people up, right? But I'm not a radical person at all. I like to think I'm a rational thinking person. I've seen some things that not too many people have seen, so therefore there might be a lot of people who think I'm a little crazy for talking about what I saw. But other than that, I'm just going to put this out there right now to you guys. As I'm looking at the future and seeing possibilities of what may be coming down, all I'm going to say is this. If ever one day I come up dead, and it's possibly, yeah, I won't even say that right now. Let me pass on that. Anyway, it's time to get some more voices heard. I strongly suggest you listen to as many different people as you can today when it comes to what's going on the planet. There's a lot of very serious stuff going on. I think David Pilatus I haven't talked to him today, but I heard David Pilatus had one of his videos were taken down. Not surprising, from the Nazi regime. It's not fair. There's a whole bunch of not fair going on right now. And I am going to ramp up getting voices heard while I still can. This is very, very important. So let's get right into it right now with this one. You said it's time. It's the title of this one. Hi, you can use my name. I go by Amy. Some people also call me Amy Q or Amy RQ. Others call me Eve or a bridge between the worlds, and others call me a light. Others have called me a prophet, but that freaks me out. I prefer to be called a seer. Others in my family are Bud Hardesty Hardesty, J.R. Galbraith, Estelle Streetor, K.B. Hardesty, and Charlotte Madison. When I was little, I lived in Berry Hill, Oklahoma, in a small community. My grandfather Bud built the house we lived in. When I was little, it seemed to be like many other homes, but now I wonder if there are portals there, because I could disappear in one part of the house and in a flash I appear somewhere else. This sounds alarming, which wasn't a big deal until I ended up in the cellar. They looked for me for hours that time. That's when my grandfather gave me a talk about the black ones. I didn't know what he meant at first, but he didn't mean black people. My grandfather didn't have a racist bone in him. He liked everyone. I think he meant Sasquatch. He said one time before I was born, the men of the neighborhood had to run a family of them out of the community because children were disappearing. I remember other times men took off in the woods like they were going after a bad guy. I was too little to understand, but other strange things went on there. Sometimes people would come out of my backyard and ask me questions. Sometimes people would come out of my backyard and go strolling to the street. Sometimes I saw critters do this too. I would always look to see where they came from, but there's nothing there but woods for acres. I asked once and the people said they didn't come from the woods, which was really strange. The place they said they did come from would catch on fire a lot. Our neighbor would get mad at us for burning trash unattended, but we weren't. So Keith, my stepdad, finally did put a burn barrel in that spot, but the fire still started and expanded beyond the barrel. Finally, my grandfather come out and had me help him build a sandbox in that spot. He told me I could always go back. I don't know what that meant, but the fire stopped. We did still have strangers show up occasionally, and critters still come out of the woods and go down the driveway. Big spider-like critters. We also heard wood knocks. Rocks were thrown at the house, huge rocks that kids could not throw. We found footprints outside my siblings' windows. The neighbor once talked to my stepdad about a smell he noticed. He said either your sewer needs to be dug out or we have another problem. Keith was afraid to dig on his own. Something about either it is back or digging might bring it back and piss it off. So the neighbor stood watch with his rifle while Keith dug, and eventually the neighbor's son helped dig. Nothing was wrong with the sewer. This upset Keith, and they all got extra protective of my siblings and I. I couldn't go far from the house, and they made me run drills to make sure I could run to the house really fast. That was when Keith started putting extra security on the house. He didn't want us to go for visitation that much either. He was scared someone would take us. Then his friend Robert Brandt started coming around more. I liked him, he was kind and made me feel safe. I honestly think he might be my real father. Anyway, I remember one time he was there and helping me water the fruit trees that Keith seemed desperate to have. Robert turned towards me and threw the bucket and grabbed me and ran. I told him not to run for the front door, it's already trapped. Be there once. I got away that time by running into the cellar. Robert and I went into the garage door. He thought we were safe, but I knew better. Robert thought the garage's back door was barricaded. Keith had just cleared it out. I tried to get Robert to run into the house with me, and he pushed me in the door and said, "Lock this door, protect your siblings, don't open this door no matter what you hear. Then wait for daylight and get help. No matter what, stay alive." I locked the door, pushed something heavy in front of it, and listened to Robert fight this thing that had been stalking us. I remember that there was a bow in there, so I yelled, "Grab the bow." There was more fighting. And my memory gets fuzzy here. I know I had to put all my weight against the door at one point. We were so scared. I think the thing went to the front as well, and I called out for Robert, but there was no answer. I was terrified he was dead. I think at daylight I heard Robert and opened the door. I think he yelled at me to only look for the phone and call for help. He wouldn't let me look at him or help him. Robert really was yelling, and it scared me. I think for a second I thought he was going to switch and start being mean like Keith, but he didn't. He would never. I'd known him since I was a baby. I'm not sure what happened next. I think my mother was called to come pick us up. I remember getting riled up because we wanted to stay with Robert. I wanted to take care of him until the medics came. She wouldn't let me. Matter of fact, every time I spoke his name, Charlotte hit me worse than she ever did. I found some letters to me in Keith's drawer. They were addressed to me and signed Love, Dad. But the return address was R. Brent. I don't think he's gone. I feel he's still alive somewhere. But every time I talked about him, Charlotte hit me and I had serious head injuries from her. I do remember both Keith and Robert telling me that Keith had a vasectomy and couldn't give Charlotte a child. They told me that I am Robert's child. Bud told me the same, as well as Keith's high school homeroom teacher. Charlotte refuses to admit it. I haven't seen Robert in a while. I'm not sure how he looks now. I have an idea, but I'm not positive. The whole rest of my family either left or are not safe, like Keith and Charlotte. I've been basically on my own to raise my kids for years. Some family would be nice to hold on to through these tough seasons. I also don't know my family medical history, and I'm sick. Steve, you look kind of like him. Do you know anyone from that area? I'm 44 years old now. Do you have a brother? I don't know anything about my dad's family. I don't know where he's from. There's no one who will tell me. I took so long to get back to these memories, and I'm afraid it's too late to find him, but I miss him a lot. That might sound stupid. I watch your videos because I'm comforted hearing your voice and seeing you, and even if I get it wrong, I feel like my dad might be listening to you too. It's hard because I was so young and I was beaten up until recently. Oh, this is just yanking at my heart, man. Woman, sorry. I mean, oh my God, this is just hammering on me. There's nothing worse. I can't stand hearing about abused people. I'll put my information below. If you know anything, please contact me. Don't share my contact information or anything else below. My partner has the phone sometime because mine broke, but it's okay to talk to her. The address where I lived, okay. Well, we'll see. I mean, this is a little bit of a confusing email for me to read myself. Sounds like some crazy shit went on where you grew up, without a doubt. And you named a lot of people. If there's a bunch of alarming things going on around that property when it comes to the topic we've been talking about a lot on this channel, then I'm quite confident someone who's in the know in your neighborhood is watching this channel too. And maybe they'll email me, or maybe they will hit you up or hit somebody up in the comment section below this video, okay? So keep an eye on it. And be safe, and don't let anybody abuse you in any way, ever, no matter what, all right? Ever. You get somebody to help you and protect you. God, that shit makes me pissed off. All right, moving along. Who else do we got here? Power went out last night, screwed up a whole bunch of shit. It got me out the door late today, so I went fishing for a little bit right by the house, but I screwed my plans for my big adventure. I was going to take you guys to some crazy places today, maybe tomorrow. Hi, Steve. My name is Paul McDaniel. Feel free to use my name. I wanted to share a story about what happened to me in the spring of 2018. I was standing on my front porch with a good friend of mine. I believe it was a couple of hours after dark when my friend and I started hearing something that sounded very heavy walking straight towards us. It started out probably around 150 yards from us and was walking on two legs. Everything it stepped on was breaking. I'm just an old country boy that loves to hunt and fish. I'm not easily scared, but I gotta say, the closer this noise was getting, the more it was making my hair crawl. My buddy was freaked out and ran to my front door and kept saying, "What in the hell is that?" Very quickly, it had gotten about 40 yards from us and stopped. My pit bull is a very protective dog, and I'd never seen her back down from anything, but for some odd reason, her and my Cocker Spaniel have been acting very strange for about 2 weeks, and I would have to make them go. And then it ends. Paul McDaniel, you sent me a story, and you didn't send me the whole story, man, all right? Unfortunately. So if you're listening to this now, which I'm quite sure you are, send us the rest of that experience, all right? We want to hear about it. It's unfortunate. There you go. Proof be told that I don't pre-read these suckers before they come to all of our ears at the same time, right? Amazing. Isn't it amazing how many people, when it came to this topic, how many of the so-called mainstream names would actually try to run me into the ground because I would not pick and choose what you're allowed to hear. Isn't that amazing? And that's a message, if any of those people are listening to right now, you cannot be more blatant to the public than stating that somebody should go through all these before they share them and pick and choose what gets shared. That shows a lot about you, and that's not too good, right? Yeah, I might feel like I might seem a little bit on edge today, and I am. I'll admit it. I'm in the mood to fight right now. try to bite my lip, make it about everybody here. This is titled Furry Friends. Please not use my name. No problem. I'm an old lady now, and I've never talked to anyone about what happened to me, but I ran across your channel on YouTube and I'm watching, and since I still have nightmares off and on, maybe if I do tell you and everyone else, it'll help. I'm certain it will. When I was 7, my mom learned how to drive, so from then on she would take me and my girlfriends on nature hikes to the Platte River Valley, or Plate River is Platte River Valley. And every time she would get out of the car, she would say something very softly, and then off we would go looking for rocks, driftwood, and special leaves, then have a picnic, where she would always leave a piece of fruit or sandwich behind, and then we would go. And we would get back to the car, and she would always turn back to the river and say something softly again. When I was 12, we moved to a small acreage that was on the north side of the river, so that we no longer had to rent pasture for my horses. Plus, my best friend only lived 2 miles from us to the east. My mom laid down 3 rules. Never ride on the south side of the river, never go to the west, and never be in the river bottom after dark. She was adamant about these rules, and I followed them well. Well, a few years went by, and I was spending the night at my girlfriend's, and she gets this idea that we go camping that night at the back of their pasture, which was river bottom. I knew it was wrong, but I went along. We got up the next morning and went swimming with the horses, and then all of a sudden we thought we smelled something that was 10 times worse than a skunk. So we packed up and went back to her house. Her mom said we probably ran into a polecat and not a skunk, so I believed her, had breakfast, and then rode home. I had a funny feeling that I was being followed all the way home, so I kept doubling back on myself, since my girlfriend's brother just loved scaring us to death, but I couldn't find any sign of him or his friends. So, when I got home, I told my mom what happened, and I got grounded for 2 weeks. But during those 2 weeks is when the nightmares and the day cares started. Outhouse was a 1-story ranch. Okay, there's a little bit of spells, typos here maybe. Bedrooms on west side and a bathroom. Living room in the middle with 2 huge picture windows, one facing north, one facing south in the kitchen. Dining and family room formed an L shape to the south. Bear with me, because it's all relevant on what I'm going to say. My mom is a very light sleeper. If I got up to go pee in the night, she always asked if I was okay. So, 2 nights after I was grounded, as usual, I got up to go to the bathroom and froze. There was something very large standing in the middle of the living room. It was like all the light had been sucked out of the house except a little shimmer around this huge thing. I dropped to the floor and crawled army style to my mom's bedside to wake her, and it was like trying to wake the dead. I couldn't get her to wake up for what seemed like hours. She laid her hand on my shoulder and asked me why I was on the floor. I was crying so hard I couldn't explain to her what happened, so she walked back to bed and I went to sleep. A few days later, I was running from my bedroom to the bathroom, where there was a shower, and when I hit the living room, a very large furry being was bent over and looking in the window at me. Now, these windows were 8 feet wide and 6 feet tall, and it filled up over half the window. I screamed and it took off. My mom found me in the laundry room when she got home from work. We sat down and talked, and she said she was going for a walk. I begged her not to go, that thing would get her, and she said, "Don't worry, I'll be back." And she was well on the last night, which as well was on the last night of my grounding. My furry friend showed up in my bedroom window, and I told her that I was very sorry for breaking my mom's rules about being in the river bottom after dark, and that I know that it's your home and I will never break the rules again. And with that, it nodded its head and left. We don't have polecats in Nebraska. Thanks, and I do feel better for a lifetime. They have visited me in my dreams and nightmares. Hopefully, they will leave now. My mom died when I was barely on my own, and I sure wish I knew what she said every time we entered the river bottom and what she said that night, but I never got the chance to ask. Sincerely, me. With your name in brackets, and I won't share it. And that is definitely a mouthful. I'm glad you shared it here with us, and I hope it makes you feel better. That is something else to pack your whole lifetime. I don't know what to say. I mean, you've heard enough of the people that have come here and shared what they know and what they've seen experience. A lot of stuff shared here is very similar to what you just shared here too. And I sure hope those nightmares end for you. I've been a victim of nightmares before too. I had almost the same dream almost every night for close to 2 years one time. I might share that a little later one day, unrelated to this topic, but I can kind of relate to having those shit-eating nightmares. They're not too cool. But anyway, I hope that this helped. And that's snow falling off the branches and hitting the roof of the truck, in case you're wondering. It's not something knocking on trees. But anyway, moving along, let's get to somebody else. Maybe somebody who is familiar with your zone, your old neighborhood, or that river, whatever. Maybe somebody will pop up and recognize something, have something similar to share, and they'll put it in the comment section below this video, okay? So make sure you read the comment section below once you hear this. All right, what do we got here? This looks lengthy, but I'm going for it anyway. Okay, what do we got? Bigfoot experiences. Hi, Steve. I'm 65 and 3 months shy of 66 at the time of this writing. I'm a native of the communist state of California, originally from Compton, now Long Beach. I've been watching your channel for a couple of years now. I really appreciate you getting the word out to so many people that Bigfoot is a real creature. You're a true badass, and thank you. Thanks, man. I have a few experiences with Bigfoot, but I never actually saw the creature. It wasn't until decades later, after listening and watching Bigfoot-related audios and videos, that I realized what I had actually experienced and was able to put it all together. My first experience was in the local mountains in the mid-1960s. It happened in Crestline, California, in the San Bernardino Mountains. I went with a family member who rented a cabin there. One evening, the parents decided to go out to dinner without us kids and left us at the cabin. There were about 5 or 6 of us. While we were inside playing, we began to hear what sounded like pebbles or small rocks hitting the outside walls of the cabin. One of the kids asked in an excited and nervous tone, "What was that?" Then, what sounded like a sizable rock hit the cabin with a loud bang, and a few kids screamed. I've since become aware that Bigfoot sometimes throw pebbles and rocks at people and buildings. There have been many Bigfoot sightings in the San Bernardino Mountains, Bernardino Mountains. My next experience is when I was 14. I was with 2 friends, Glenn, who's also 14, and Steve, Sniffer Wexler, who was 18. He was the adult in the group, LOL. We hitchhiked from Long Beach to Pfeiffer Big Sur State Park to go camping. It's on the California coast, about 350 miles north of Long Beach. Just so you know, both my parents worked. My dad was traveling salesman, so it wasn't that difficult to split for a week or 2 during the summer. Neither of my parents were what you would call disciplinarians, that's for sure. I never let my kids do that when they were growing up, though. Hell no. Haha. So back to the story. From Pfeiffer Campground in Big Sur, we began our journey. While we were hiking deep in the woods, I was the last one in line on the trail carrying a 40 to 45 pound backpack. Sniffer purposely packed mine to the hilt. It was heavy enough that another hiker along the way scolded him for making me his pack mule. I was all of 5'4", 5'5", and about 130 pounds at the time. I was also wearing brand new Red Wing type work boots that were blistering up my feet. I figured they were cheaper than hiking boots and would work fine. Talk about a dumbass rock. Talk about dumb as a rock. As we hiked, I kept hearing heavy bipedal footsteps parallel to me, and to the right just inside the forest woodline. They sounded about 15 to 20 yards away, smashing leaves and snapping twigs. I stopped and yelled to the guys, "Hey, did you hear that?" They asked, "Hear what?" I replied, "There is someone following us. I keep hearing footsteps in the woods." When I stopped, the footsteps stopped. Sniffer said, "You're imagining things. Knock it off and keep moving. We need to get to the campsite before dark." The next day, we ran into the park ranger while on the trail. We were headed deeper into the forest to the next camp. The ranger was very distraught. He was telling Sniffer what happened the previous day. While on the trail, he got off his horse to give it a break. The pack mule was behind the horse. He tethered to it. The park ranger began walking on the trail with horse and mule in tow. He said something really bad happened that spooked the mule. It spooked it so much the poor thing stumbled off the trail and tumbled. About 200 feet to its death to the bottom of the ravine, just fell off the trail. And that is frickin' rare. And shitty. Unfortunately, the mule took the horse with him and it died too. The ranger began to cry over his beloved horse and said that he had not gotten off it just a couple minutes before. He would be dead too. Sniffer asked him what spooked the mule. The ranger got wide-eyed and he said he didn't want to say. Being fairly outspoken for a punk kid, I pressed the ranger to tell us what spooked the mule. Sniffer quickly piped back at me to shut up and that the ranger didn't want to say. This was pretty much the extent of my strange experience on that trip to Big Sur. Other than feeling I was being watched at times, looking back, I think it was Bigfoot that spooked the mule. I don't know what much else could have spooked a horse or a mule up the trail like that. The next experience was in Big Sur again. It was the summer after the last trip. I was 15 and my friend Dave was 16. We hitchhiked from Long Beach to get there. We were fairly deep in the woods on the trail, trying to get to the campsite as the sun was fading. We realized we wouldn't make it there before dark, so we decided to camp a few feet off the trail. It was dusk and we were sitting at our little camp talking. Suddenly, a blood-curdling howl pierced through the forest. I said to Dave, "What the F is that?" He instinctively replied, "Nothing from this world that we know of." The howl sounded very close, and then it came from maybe 50 yards away. It was so loud that it shook the whole forest and went right through us. We were only spooked for a minute, though. I can only guess that we were just too dumb back then to freak out. We also were quickly distracted by light rain that began to fall. We hurried to pitch our tube tents. Shortly after getting into our tents with our gear, it began to rain hard. It rained harder and harder, so hard that it was like rivers of water flowing past the open sides of our tube tents. I really thought there was a good chance we would be washed away. To this day, I've never seen it rain harder than it did that evening. It was in the middle of the summer, so pretty weird it would rain like that. Luckily, the creature beast left us alone because it sure sounded pissed off. I don't recall anything else strange happening on that trip. A couple years ago, I found the exact same howl that we heard back then. It was on a 2016 YouTube video that someone recorded near Mount Lawson, California. I will include the link. The howl in the video is further away than what we heard in the Big Sur, but is exactly the same howl to the T. The next experience occurred when I was 16. I was with two friends, Glenn, 16, Rob, 17. We hiked to the Palm Springs Aerial Tramway in Riverside County, about 120 miles east of Long Beach. We took the tram to the top of Mount San Jacinto, Jacinto, to go camping. A number of people have disappeared on that mountain, and also Idlewild, which is also in Riverside County. The tram is a fun ride going from the desert floor up the side of the mountain to a 10,800-foot elevation. When we reached the top, we began our hike. Once again, I was the last in line. The guys were close ahead of me and easily within sight of the trail. Easily within my sight on the trail. The sun's coming up behind that tree, right in my eyes. I looked down to the side for a couple of seconds, and when I looked back ahead, they were gone. It was like they vanished. I began yelling for them and got no response. I was sure they were close enough to hear me. I kept yelling for them, but nothing. I became quite concerned and then disoriented. I shit you not, Steve, it was like the trail disappeared too. Since then, I've heard and read the same type of accounts from others who had strange experience in the woods. Some of them found and some never found. All of a sudden, they became disoriented and the trail is no longer defined. Some of the accounts of hikers I heard about who were never found called their loved ones, letting them know they were lost and disoriented before they disappeared forever. Otherwise, I and nobody else would know those particular circumstances. Anyway, in my worried state, I began descending the backside of the mountain from where the team was, which made no sense at all. I've since heard and read that many people do the same thing when lost in the mountains, start hiking downward. I went down the mountain for a while and then realized I was becoming even more lost. It was fairly steep in places too. I came upon a rock outcropping. I climbed up and sat on a big round rock. I took out my backpack, broke down, and called out to God for help. As I sat on the rock, I felt like I was being watched. And then I heard what sounded like some twigs snapping and pebbles thrown near me. And I called out, "Who's there?" Is someone there? I got no response. The feeling of being watched grew stronger, and after a few more minutes, I decided to climb up the mountain. It took me a while to get back up there. When I finally did, I miraculously found the trail I was on before getting lost. My two friends saw me shortly after. They immediately yelled out to me, asking what happened and where I'd been. I told them and asked them if they ditched me. They said no, and that they were just ahead of me the whole time. All I can say is, it was really weird that the way the whole thing went down. I was just relieved to have made it back, and I think God had a big hand in it. I was completely lost, but still somehow made it back to the trail and my friends without even knowing where I was going. It was nothing short of a miracle. My last experience happened when I was 19 in 1975, and it was in the San Bernardino Desert. Some friends and I were there to have some fun and shoot guns. After a day of target practice and a few beers, we went back to the small trailer where we were staying. It was in a little trailer park adjacent to a rock-covered wash. It was summertime, and there was no water in the wash. That night, when it was time to crash, I got the top bed. I guess that would be the front of the trailer. It's the little area a foot or so below the ceiling. About 4 a.m., I was awakened by a blood-curdling scream that seemed to come down the wash and very close. I instinctively felt it wasn't anything natural, but something out of this world. I wanted to look out the little window by my bed, but I was too spooked. So I stuck my head under the covers and fell back to sleep. In hindsight, I wish I would have looked out the window. I probably would have seen the creature. It sounded real close. In the morning, I asked my friends if they heard the scream, and they all said no. I thought it was quite weird because it was very loud and ear-piercing scream. Several years ago, after hearing a similar scream from a Bigfoot vocalization recording, I immediately recognized it, and the hair on my arms nearly stood up. I recently found another one, and we'll send the link as well. I also did a search for Bigfoot in San Bernardino County Desert back in '75 and found some accounts. I believe all the above experiences I shared involved Bigfoot. I just wish I would have seen the creature at least one of those times. I have a Nevada desert story that involved an experience on the ET highway that I would like to share at another time. Thanks again for doing what you do, Steve. You're an awesome dude. You're welcome to use my last name. Take care and God bless. Phil Shaheen. Bigfoot howls. I came. Okay, there's a couple of links. Let's see if I can do that when I get back. Okay, man, thanks for that share. And especially thanks for rattling off all the areas that all went down in, all right? I'm not certain, but I think that is important to a lot of people listening right now, is people sharing exactly where the shit went down. And I have a funny feeling as well that you will hear from people who have experienced something in those same areas. I have a feeling you will hear from them in the comment section below, without a doubt. Or they're going to email me, one or the other, but it's going to happen. That's what happens every time. Every time all of you share with all of us here, somebody has heard the same thing or seen the same thing in the same area. Anyway, that was a good little blast out. I need to get, I'm feeling a little more calm right now. I got a lot of stuff getting shared with me lately that's enough to make a frickin' nun want to go punch somebody in the face. I'll tell you what. It's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. I gotta get home. You know what? Sarah's gonna she's gonna cook up a rib roll. I can't wait for her to share that with everybody, because especially all you people that hunt, gather your own nourishment for your home, or raise your own animals for meat. She just cooked up one of our chickens that we raised. You have a look at that, how plump those suckers are and healthy looking. We had one of those last night. She videotaped how she cooked it and put it on her YouTube channel. But I've had on my hunting channel, I've shown people how I remove all the rib meat in like a big shield. It comes out. I take my scalpel blade and I slowly fillet all the ribs, the outside meat and the rib meat, all in one big piece. I'll show you a picture. I might add a picture in that for her and show everybody what I mean. And what you do is when you get that that big chunk of meat home, we cut it up and freeze it in individual packages, which are about that big. What's that? 3-pounder? And you unfold it, and then you stuff it full of delicious other ingredients, and you roll that sucker up and roast it. Oh my God, it's so good. You want to, because you don't get too much of it, right? It's just ribs. But you want to, I always want to ration it off. But I think I did it to both. I got a moose and an elk last year, and I took the rib. I made rib rolls out of both those animals, all the rib meat. So that might be of interest to a lot of you out there who do the same thing I do when it comes to the freezer and your family. And this is going to be a real good one to share with everybody, okay? And it'll be up on her YouTube channel in a couple days. I just took that. I found a good one. I took it out of the freezer before I left to do this. What else is going on with her channel? YouTube went and deleted another 1,200 subscribers off of her channel. Just like that. This morning. Haven't a clue why. I don't know what's going on. Google does a lot of weird shit. David Pilatus had a video removed from his channel apparently today that he put down today. And I think a lot of his subscribers get automatically unsubscribed. I know a lot of people email me and ask me why I'm unsubscribing them. I can't unsubscribe people. There isn't even a feature on YouTube to unsubscribe somebody. You can go to their account and block them, but then they won't see your channel anymore. I've done that to a fair amount of morons just to get them out of your faces. What else? Deleting comments. There's a lot of people also say that I'm deleting comments. I don't even read the comments. So I understand, I think how it works is YouTube they have, what's it called, algorithms or something? It's when the words they don't want shared on comments come up, they delete the comment. And then you try again, you can't get your comment out. But just so you know, that's YouTube doing that to you too, okay? So YouTube removes your comments and YouTube unsubscribes you from this channel and other channels. I don't know why. I haven't a clue. I do know if I was to possibly be in the same room as the people that were in control of YouTube, it wouldn't be too good. I'll leave it at that. So, there you go. Yeah, Sarah's channel, if you subscribe to it, you might want to have a look and check that out again, because you probably got unsubscribed. I don't know why. But that rib roll's coming up, and that's going to be a real good one for all you to watch. Anyway, I got to get out of here. We got some kids to go pick up at the ferry. And I don't want Sarah taking off by herself and driving on this icy, shitty highway by herself to go do it. So I got to get my butt in gear, and I'll be back, and I'll be sharing more, and I will not stop sharing until they boot my ass off of here. And then I'll find another way to fight. See you shortly.